Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Creator bid is absolutely ripping, and of course, that is setting the tune for a lot of altcoins in the market. It shows a little bit of life still left in the altcoin market. You guys know my favorite altcoins are in the DeSci nature, and so today we will go through some of the DeSci projects that I believe are set to rip / already ripping. I apologize for the late start today. I wasn't even going to do a live until C90 started bullying me and said that I needed to make sure that I didn't lose the water sponsorship. You can't get better than that. How's it going, everyone? Welcome in, C90. What's good, David? How's it going, Morales? Steve, the Canadians in today. WWW. Oh shit. Let's go, C90. WC90 with the 5 gifted memberships to everyone in the chat, basically. Wild Africa, welcome. Karen, welcome. Chris, welcome. Bruce, welcome. Lena, welcome. Welcome in to the cult. Hopefully you guys are as amped up and as excited as I am right now. I want to showcase something to you guys a little bit. I had perfect timing with a post that I made about Creator Bid yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago, 3 days ago, whatever. June 1st, I said, Bid is one of the most undervalued gems in the AI space. And then from there, it absolutely started to skyrocket. We are up an astonishing 73% since I made that post. Creator Bid is one of the largest bags that I have in the altcoin market that is not part of DeSci. And I think that the chart is looking perfect here. If you go ahead and just kind of view these, you got the lowest low. You got a higher low, and then you have a very slightly higher low here. I think it's getting ready. It's compressing down for an explosion to the upside, and I'm excited for it. Hopefully you guys are as excited as I am. If we continue to go even further down the rabbit hole, we see other projects, 0xDNX, like Dynex, starting to really put in some moves here. Finally, I know we talked about it a lot yesterday, but let me just pull it up again for you guys. It is finally looking like it's bottomed and starting to put in those higher highs and higher lows. I will say I want to see it break out, honestly, to 13 cents or above so that we can get some clear confluence and know for sure that this is the breakout we were all expecting and waiting for. 13 cents is still, I think, I'd still be down on my position on it, but that's okay. All right, that's all right with me. Okay, I see a long-term relationship building with Dynex here with me. Patrick is influencing the market. I swear I'd call the SEC if they cared at all, or didn't say Ponzi's were legal a week ago. Let's go. I know the SEC is really on our side with all these Ponzi's here. They're dropping cases left and right, coming out saying point blank, you're allowed to have staking cryptos. You guys saw that, right? Which is part of the reason why we're now seeing BlackRock push aggressively for their Ethereum ETF. And part of the reason I think that we're starting to see Ethereum really putting in some good support here. Ethereum and Solana, honestly, starting to make a little bits of moves. Ethereum looking a little bit better on the daily chart than Solana. But this is a representation of the altcoin market. So as Ethereum and Solana continue to show strength and get stronger and stronger, the better our bags should perform. And again, like I said, SEC came out and said, proof of stake is a go. It's not a security. You guys are good to go with proof of stake. Ethereum is massively benefiting from that. And now, I don't think it's coincidence at all that after that announcement from the SEC, I personally saw an ad from BlackRock about their ETH ETF. Let's see. Oh, 2 hours ago. BlackRock sold Bitcoin and bought Ethereum. BlackRock just bought $48 million worth of Ethereum. That is crazy. I did not know this, actually, so this is really wild. Ethereum weekly engagement starting to skyrocket. So that is super crazy bullish for Ethereum. Maybe that's what it's going to take for us to get some negative price action on the Bitcoin dominance, which you guys know, I don't need to go over the whole story. When Bitcoin dominance goes down, altcoins go up. So maybe that's what it takes to sort of put in a top, or at least a local top, on Bitcoin dominance and actually allow for our altcoins to rally. Now that I've kind of set the tone for everyone, what altcoins do I think are going to rally the most? Obviously, you have the meme coins, which are going to perform crazy, but no one knows which ones the cabal is going to back at any given moment. So it's literally a gamble. Unless you have insider information, then it's a jail sentence, except that they're probably not going to execute on any imprisonment for anyone. But we just try and avoid that, right? We try and have a little bit of an edge when we're dealing with this kind of stuff. And so meme coins out the window for me personally. The other things, the other narratives that I think are going to perform the best, obviously, you're going to have some AI go crazy, which is why we have a heavy position in BID. I think it's one of the most undervalued AI plays in the market. Obviously, we have a massive position in Bill. You guys know that one. Don't need to say too much about Bill, but obviously, we're going to see Bill go berserk, go bonkers. We got some crazy volatility here on Bill, which is interesting. Some people trying to market manipulate here, or what? What's the deal? My God, someone sold $3,000 worth of Bill. Oh well. Yeah, some crazy volatility going on with Bill, but Bill being an AI agent that I'm working on. Yesterday I had a really good conversation with the first potential partnership, not really potential, but the first partnership with DeSci projects. But AI is a narrative I think is going to go absolutely nuts. And so having your AI bags packed, I think is the best course of action here. The next narrative, which you guys know is my number one conviction narrative, is decentralized science. Bill being that crossover between DeSci and AI, but also bio. I want to hound this in for you guys, all right? I want to hound this in for you guys. The bio ecosystem is the cleanest and I think easiest narrative to ride to get exposure to decentralized science, right? So bio being kind of like, in my opinion, the Bitcoin of DeSci, right? Then we have Research Hub, Brian Armstrong's project, as the CZ. Brian Armstrong pretending to be CZ in this and being the Binance of DeSci, in my opinion. I think Bio Protocol is going to rip like crazy. And then after Bio rips, I think that the Bio DAOs and the Bio IPTs are going to rip. And these Bio IPTs are sitting down at market caps that are sub 1 million. Almost all of them are sub 1 million. Even these pump science molecules here, we just saw several of them get crushed. Look at these market caps. Where's the market cap? It's all the way down on the right. Yeah. Look at these market caps on them. 82,000, 105,000, 250,000. These are going to absolutely skyrocket. And you can actually even go to pump.science and place your bets on which ones are doing the most, right? Because Pump Science has that entire game that they've evolved, and they're making it so that anyone who's holding the most effective compounds on their platform are going to get airdrops from future rewards of launches, right? And they're coming up and they're starting to gear up. One day they'll launch the other projects that we've been keeping an eye on for months at this point. And anyone who's holding the most effective compounds will get airdrops from those other launches, right? It's a very exciting time. And the cool part is that you can actually go see what compounds are the most effective. Which of these that have launched have the highest life expectancy extension, right? So for Gaussy, we have a negative 5.5% life extension for now. We'll see when it's fully finished out in the worms and then the flies and the mice, but in the worms, it did not show a life extension. We go look at EGS. EGS has a 15.9% extension in worms. We have ART showing a 20% extension in worms, right? And then you got RIF and Euro in the worm phases, RIF being the most life extension in the worm phases. So anyone who's holding RIF gets airdrops of the other projects in worms. You go over to flies. I don't think you can actually change it right now, but these haven't gone on to flies, but you can actually see which ones are going to be the best performers, which ones are likely to maintain king of the pill. And then you get airdrops and you get people looking into them and you get the supplements that come out over time. And it's just a really easy play in my opinion. Yeah, really just underdiscovered, underappreciated, and the same story played out with RIF and Euro, the same thing. And so we've seen this playbook already. We've seen what happened when everyone got attention focused on them. When it was truly time for altcoins to go crazy, and it was back during this period, right? Back when dominance was just going in a straight line down, we saw RIF and Euro go up ungodly amounts. And I think the same type of thing is going to happen again. We will see. We will see. Good morning. I think STIG, the innovation game, will be $1 billion protocol in the future. Let's go, cryptopreneur. Let's go. I think it's interesting for sure. TIG is interesting. But what is STIG? Good morning, Talkerid. Good morning, Beagle. I think I already said good morning to Beagle, though. Just finished my call with Larry Fink. They buy in DeSci next. Bullish. Good. Bullish. Send it. Get BlackRock in on DeSci. I know that they'll love it. They would love it. If they would pay any attention to it, they would love it. But the third narrative for anyone who wants to diversify away from AI and DeSci, in my opinion, is DPIN. Decentralized physical infrastructure, because they're cash flowing. You can have a little bit of stability with a little bit of a better understanding on how to value something. So you look into DPIN. I meant TIG. Okay, good. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I just missed something. But getting in on some, those are the three that I think are the best. What is this? Oh, Vice. Vice. How's TIG doing? Down 10%, $3 million market cap. All right, okay. Looks like the same as everything else. I'd have my iced coffee. I'm sweating over here. Sorry. But, yeah. Those are the things that I think are going to do the best. Now, if you get even more into the weeds, obviously these are ones that I have heavily spoken about, especially recently, because I think that they are underappreciated right now. But if we go out a little bit, and instead of just looking at the micro caps within DeSci, you go start looking at some of the other DeSci projects that are out there, you see a lot of other projects that, in my opinion, are more stable, more secure, right? Like, I'm fairly certain that Poseidon DAO has been done with its bleeding for quite some time, right? And Poseidon DAO is one of the projects in DeSci that I think has a very bright future ahead of it for a lot of reasons. We've gone over all of them, but one of the main things is the total addressable market for personalized medicine. Remember how yesterday in the live stream I was talking about how for the first time ever they were able to successfully edit the genes of a newborn child in order to get rid of a rare disease? This is what Poseidon DAO is gunning for. Different things like that. Not exactly just editing genes like that, but different treatments like that, especially for things like cancer, right? And we have some of the partnerships that they've been making and some of the funding that has gone out for them. I think they are a really, really strong contender for the space. Of course, we also have Noble, which you guys know. I posted a screenshot showing part of my bag online the other day for Noble. It is falling off a cliff again, as always. Whoever just keeps dumping it just continues to blow my mind. But Noble Blocks, whenever... It's like the same story as a lot of the different projects out there. When it moves, it really skyrockets. However, the momentum on Noble right now looks like it's headed back down to put in some lower lows. Noble is one that I have an egregiously large bag of that I am just hanging on to. I'm just holding on to it. I'm not going to sell it. It's either ride it to zero or ride it to riches. I'm holding on to it. I think it's got a very, very bright future over the long term, but it doesn't stop the fact that the chart looks like dog shit. The chart just looks miserable. After that hack, it was just like, fuck, what are we doing? Yeah, a lot of projects out there. Obviously, Research Coin. Research Coin just took a massive hit as well over the last month or two. Like, not massive, but to go from 60 cents down to 40 cents, get that 30% decrease is pretty crazy to me, considering what this project is, right? It's just the state of the market having a hard time. Let's go. Let's go, Wild Africa. Of course, we got DNA, we got Axon, we got Kong. Kong being pretty much the only thing I hold from the ICP ecosystem anymore. A lot of good things coming from Kong. A lot of cool chats happening in their team chat. I would just keep an eye on it. Yeah. Wellshare, Zaya, Genome. How's Genome doing? It's such a similar story for all the DeSci plays. Any news on Wellshare? Let's go take a look. I think they were doing some advancements on Diabetes DAO, right? DeSci Berlin, because their founders are in Berlin. Oh, never mind. The future of medicine is multi-agent, so apparently they're working on some agents for their systems, which makes sense. Every single project, basically every company in the world needs to be working on agentic systems, otherwise there's no future for them. What is Wellshare building? Wellshare is building the Health Profile Machine Protocol, HPMP, a decentralized privacy-preserving infrastructure that enables AI agents to discover and interact with real-world health data on a constant basis, in a constant-based, secure way. HPMP lets agentic researchers match with user-owned profiles. I'm having a hard time reading right now. Open conversational data exchanges and build decentralized knowledge graphs, all without compromising data ownership or privacy. So a story as old as time in DeSci, just the repeat of the same initiatives, because it is so valuable and because there are so many different niches within this section of data of healthcare. There are so many companies that can come in and grab a niche and grab part of the market and expand with the market as it grows. So it's a really cool initiative. It's something that is going to flood with users over the next decade, like absolutely skyrocket. And then this is from May 26th, so a little while ago, but Web3 community brunch they posted about. Pretty cool. They're really diving into the agentic science of everything, so I would keep an eye on them for sure. Keep them on your watch lists. $3.5 million market cap. I think it's, yeah. Let's get that log chart to make it look a little bit better. They still haven't found an exact bottom. Unlike a lot of the other projects that we were just talking about, which started to look like they were finding a bottom or at least weren't at all-time lows. Wellshare is currently at all-time lows. So I would keep an eye on it, wait for it to start bottoming out, wait for it to start reversing a bit. But for the time being, it is in a downtrend for sure. I want to see Zaya, because Zaya looked the same last time I checked. But Zaya has, Zaya at a $453,000 market cap is pretty crazy. Zaya has a lot of the large partnerships with a lot of large institutions and literal governments. Zaya looking like it's trying to find a bottom here. Trying desperately to find a bottom here. Let's see if it can do it. But these types of plays, keep an eye on them. Keep them on your watch list. When DeSci starts moving, when the big dogs start moving, I should say, keep an eye for some of the other projects like those to start moving in tandem. It's the same model as what we pay attention to in the larger crypto market, where you see Bitcoin move first, and then you see things like Ethereum and Solana move second. And you need dominance to come down on Bitcoin in order for them to actually start getting some crazy rallies. It's the same type of concept where if you're looking, pay attention to Bio. When Bio gets a crazy liquidity injection, that's when you're going to see some crazy liquidity injections across the DeSci market. Look at Research Coin. When Research Hub, Research Coin gets a crazy liquidity injection, be paying close attention for the rest of the market to start getting some pretty crazy liquidity injections. How's Data Lake doing? 13% up today. Nice. Data Lake really looks like it's got that hard floor right here. That hard floor. You don't see it going down below it at all. So, in my opinion, we're spending a lot of time down here, which is annoying, but that quick move back up to the top of the range, maybe you can even lower it down a little bit more. put in like a dotted line here, because it seems like that would be a big area of contention. But that whole range right there between these two lines, some quick price movement up there. And now these, you have to understand the percent changes that we're looking at on these charts are in the thousands because they're so small. Size looking amazing. DeSci is a great ticker. Yes, it is. Let's go see Sci. I've been hearing some pretty cool things about Sci, so. This just got made an hour ago. That doesn't seem reasonable. Nine months ago, there we go. Okay. Sci's been holding up really good. Look at that move. So these types of charts, these are going to be the ones that are leading the industry forward. Up 400% from the bottom. SciDow. SciDow, I love SciDow. I think it's a great one. I think it's really cool, actually. They have BR'd as well, right? Yeah. So some beta on Sci. If Sci continues to do well, BR'd should do really well. Just keep it in mind. And then DeSci. Is DeSci coming back? There were so many of these. There were so many of these that I felt were going to do so good. Some of these random altcoins. Like we got DeSci, the SUI agents. Not holding up too hot. That's on Ethereum though. They were on SUI as well. But then we got DeSci AI. How's that one doing? Ooh. These were some of the random altcoins that I saw launch at the end of the DeSci pump last time. And I got my ass handed to me on them. But yeah, it stopped falling. I'm just holding on to it just because if it does come back, it's such a small market cap right now. There's no point in selling it. It's basically at zero already. And then we have Protocol, which was another DeSci one that I was holding on to. I think it's this. No, it's not this. Oh no, it was. I think it was. It just probably doesn't have enough trading volume right now to be on it. But Protocol is one that I'm holding on to that I think is in that info science or info part of the, how do I say it? What even is that sector? It's like the new emergence. You guys saw it with Yaps. We saw it with Protocol. We saw it with the Infinex, right? We're seeing a lot of people talk about these like info focused chains that are helping people discover new creators and helping people keep an eye on what the creators are talking about and having like a track record on them. It's pretty interesting to me. It's a field that I think just by its nature is going to get a lot of people talking about it because that's how you earn points in it. And so I'm hanging on to some of these projects with a bit of a bag as a diversification away from just DeSci, but it's so small. Like this one feels, how many of you guys remember Hello? How many of you guys remember Hello? That was years ago that we got into that one. But it feels like Hello was kind of the initial one of these coins. And we jumped into it right around here in 23 and then we rode it all the way up and then they launched their show and we got out of it because that's just how it happens, right? You get the rally into excitement and then you get out of it after the most exciting moment, which usually is the big announcement that everyone has. It feels like Protocol is the same type of thing as Hello, Protocol. It's obviously not, but it feels like it. And then we got Kato, which is holding up super good. It's a huge market cap though, but it's a solid one. And then how's Virtuals doing? Virtual sitting at a $1.3 billion market cap is crazy. Like I think Creator Bid should get a fraction of this. Creator Bid should get a big chunk of Virtual's market share over time, obviously. But Virtual's sitting at a 1.3. billion market cap, I think Creator Bid has a good shot at getting to be somewhere around 10% of what Creator Bid or of what Virtuals gets to. If not getting to the same size, but I remember hello and never got it, LOL. Yeah, that was the same time that we were talking about, that was before we went full microcap only, right? That was back when I would actually put money into things that were $30 to $50 million in market cap and hope for them to get to 100 million and call it a good play on a 3x. Now, we're so far down in the trenches that if it's not a 10x, I don't want it, right? At this point, a lot of the money that I have in stuff, if it's over a $20 million market cap, I'm like, do I need it? Do I need to have that? Do I need to have that? Some of them are yes, but a vast majority of my portfolio are in things that are sub 50, sub 20 million. Let's see. Let's see how DeSci as a sector is doing in this moment. DeSci up just a little. Factoring up a lot. Damn. How is SciDAO in the top gainers when it's literally down and well shares up? Let's look at Dynex again. It's just it's a feel good one. It's a good feel good guy. Let's see how high he can push. Every time he gets a rally, it gets eaten up by some sellers. But finally, the buyers are starting to actually outpace some of the sellers on this thing. What are you guys holding on to? What is everyone's top 3 bags right now? Both in DeSci, out of DeSci, anything. What's everyone holding on to these days? Of course, we got the total liquidity in the market. Pretty interesting to see how spot on this is, right? You see this area right here where we had a bit of a pullback right after breaking new all-time highs, doing the same thing right here, broke to new all-time highs and then getting a bit of a pullback. So that spike upwards, guys, be paying attention for a quick move on Bitcoin up to that $130,000 to $140,000 area here, literally in the next month or two. If we assume that we're right here, we got a quick move up in a month. So if Bitcoin continues to follow global liquidity, then by the end of this month, we should be pushing close to 130. So we should be pushing close to 130-ish by the end of this month if Bitcoin continues to follow that global liquidity. But we'll see. We will see. Hopefully it does play out like that. And honestly, it's gone to the point now, because everyone is paying attention to the global liquidity, that if global liquidity starts to fall, I imagine we will see a break of the correlation between Bitcoin and global liquidity. Meaning, Bitcoin has been lagging behind global liquidity for that 80 to 100 days. You guys have all seen it. I know each and every one of you guys have seen it, but lagging behind global liquidity by 80 to 100 days. If global liquidity starts falling off a cliff or going through a pullback, I think people are going to start immediately trying to get out of Bitcoin because they've been paying so close attention to it. And that will discontinue or remove the trend, in my opinion, the correlation. It will no longer be so tightly correlated, at least for that pullback period. Who knows what happens after that, but in my opinion, that's what we see. All right, we got a lot of people sharing their top 3. We got Dynex, Eagle AI, and Bill. We did not look at Dynex. Let's go check out Dynex, or we did look at Dynex. Let's go check out EAI. Eagle AI, a very, very strong chart. Very strong chart. It is taking a little bit of a nosedive here, but it has been the cleanest chart in the market, in my opinion, where you get some sideways, some down, and then a quick move, and then sideways and down, and then a quick move, and then sideways, down and sideways, and quick move. You know, it's been very, very clean, especially with the staking and the revenue generating. I think this is a really, really solid one. So shout out you, Stare. And then C90 has Bitcoin, ADA, and CAS. He's not even in DeSci. He doesn't even care for DeSci. Research Coin might be the fourth. He's just very conservative. C90's moving with like 7 figures in each position, so he needs to be in the larger projects. He can't just go dump millions of dollars into things like Dynex or like Bill, even though he'd make a ton of money. Knock on wood. He can't just move millions of dollars in there. So he's got to be in those Bitcoins, Cardanos, and Caspas. How is Caspa doing? Let's get rid of the global liquidity. All right. Okay. Caspa, holding strong still. ADA. Let's go check out ADA. I haven't peeked on ADA in a long time. Still holding up. Still holding up. You got a long way to go to get back to all-time highs, but in any kind of an altcoin rally, this is a very, very nice looking chart. Just going on some good stair-stepping patterns here. Don't dox me like that. It's 6 figures though, not 7. She. And then we got Axon, Bill, and Psy from Beagle. Let's go. Let's go. A solid, solid portfolio. This is their base one, so it's not going to look the same. Axon down at those lows that they continue to bounce off of. Let's go check out the longer one, the larger chart. So yeah, Axon chilling around those lows that they continue to bounce from. So somewhere around here, somewhere in this 6 to 7 cent threshold. Remember back here, I was saying I think it's not gonna take off until it hits down into this territory of 7 cents, and then I was wrong and it skyrocketed. And then it came back down and now has touched that 7 cents area. Axon knows how to market. They know how to push their stuff. So I think it'll be a good one. W Patrick, W Bill, W Pump Science. Let's go, Solus. Let's go. Let's go. Biodynex Research, W. It's a solid portfolio. Solid portfolio. I think though, like you guys, none of you guys are too degen. So I think it'll be really good. We shall see how the market decides to play, though, because for the time being, things are still at those lows. Everything is still far from the all-time highs, but we just have to wait for Bitcoin to have its time in the sun, and then we can see the rest of the market have some time in the sun as well. It's the story as old as crypto. Bitcoin moves, then the altcoins move. So as long as we continue to track global liquidity, I think in the next 30 days, we will all be feeling that pure euphoria as long as we continue to track the global liquidity. In the next 30 to 60 days, we should all be feeling some really good euphoria about our portfolios, because likely what's going to happen, in my opinion, of course, take it with a grain of salt. I've been wrong before. We see some moves like this again, right? And we see a big push on Bitcoin, and I'm just going to extend it a little bit to get up to that 130 to 140. We see a big move like this, where by the end of the month, we're putting in those crazy highs, right? And then we see something like this, where it kind of just chops sideways, but up a little bit. Sideways, but up a little bit. During this period here, okay? So after that 30-day rally of Bitcoin, during this period here, I think is when we see dominance really fall. And that's when I think we see the altcoin market go and have a good time. So unfortunately, it'll probably be something like this for the next 30 days. Probably be something like this until the end of July. So I went out by a little bit too far. But then I think what we end up seeing is a big sideways movement. Maybe not all the way, but who knows? Honestly, who knows? Because this time we have BlackRock with the ETH ETF, but then we see something like this where we come back down to the 200-day moving average on Bitcoin dominance. And so that would be really nice through the end of the cycle, ideally, but no promises, right? What do you guys think? Maybe something closer to this, right? Closer to that. Am I too far off? Am I too far gone, guys? 30 days of Bitcoin show, then a nice 30-day period of altcoin season. And then we continue, if we're going to continue with more and more legs upwards on Bitcoin, we continue this show where Bitcoin pulls back for a little bit. We have 2 or 3 months of consolidation, right? And then into the end of the year, you get like 2 or 3 months where we kind of go like this. Everyone thinks the cycle's over. And then maybe we get that final rally upwards towards the end of the year. I didn't really give it much time to rally, so I kind of had to just do a straight line up. But maybe that's what we end up seeing, something like that. Another step, potentially. I am in the camp where I think this is probably the last step, but who knows? I will be very happy if it's wrong and we do get that next step. But likely that's kind of what I would expect to happen in the market, is that if we do get another step, we kind of have a cool off period here. Bitcoin maybe comes down, tests like this, shows support, chops around, and then starts pushing again towards the end of Q4. And then we just have a regular 4-year cycle. My maxi friends are doing their best to have me question an alt season this cycle too. Yeah, I mean, if we're being honest, it doesn't look like we're going to get a traditional alt season at all. It looks like it is just the Bitcoin ETFs show this entire cycle, which isn't the worst case scenario. But generally, when everyone has given up on something is when it will happen, right? When everyone's expecting it, it doesn't happen. When everyone's given up on it, it does tend to happen. So who knows how it's actually going to look? I would be super happy if during this whole period here, Bitcoin dominance was tanking and altcoins were really just shining. And maybe, like I said, we can kind of round it off again like we started it, back looking at BlackRock. BlackRock getting the green light to really push the ETH ETF is probably a really strong sign. Like BlackRock putting in $78 million into the Ethereum ETF, or shall I say, because it's not BlackRock necessarily doing it, but $78 million going into the Ethereum ETF in the last day is a crazy amount. BlackRock and Fidelity are buying the Ethereum dip like crazy, which is really exciting to see, because with that news from the SEC that proof of stake is not a security, it gave everyone the green light to start buying Ethereum. We just saw that, so now it's going to take some time to play out. That was back in, I mean, we got that, but hold on. SEC proof of stake. May 29th, so just a couple days ago. The SEC clarifies proof of staking activities are not securities, include self-staking and staking as a service. That is huge. That basically gives the green light for a lot of DeFi. Like, staking as a service is not considered a security anymore. So things are looking really bright for our ETH bags and our Solana bags, just to be honest. And now people can go, because what's the yield on ETH? That's staking rewards. I don't know the validity of this website, but it's the green light now for people to go stake Ethereum and earn some of that yield that's out there. So it's pretty low. Earn up to 2% APY on ETH. So it's actually incredibly low. Like but who knows what happens, right? There's a lot more upside in Ethereum than some of the other staking opportunities out there in the market. 2%, I was expecting it to be somewhere closer to like 12%, but 2% is what it is. Yeah, I don't think people are going to go for that. I don't think people are going to go for that. Like, you can go look at, like, why would I go, if I was seeking yield, right? If I was seeking yield, why would I go get ETH for 2% over the 10-year risk-free for 4.5%? So that doesn't really make much sense. And people aren't even really interested in the 10-year right now for 4.5%. So why would they be interested in Ethereum for 2.5% or 2%, whatever? But it's still a good sign. It's still progress in the right direction. That proof of stake and staking as a service is not classified as securities by the SEC. That is a really, really green light for industry adoption. So exciting. Still looks like too many altcoins. Most, if not all, mid caps are cooked. Gotta stay in Bitcoin or micros, in my opinion. Says the guy who's got Bitcoin, ADA, and Caspa. Why are you in ADA and Caspa if you think that you got to be in micro caps? You know, one that I was looking at a lot lately that I was toying with the idea of getting into again. Let's actually pull it up on this chart. Tau. BitTensor. I never actually owned BitTensor, and I know it's pretty close to all-time highs right now, but I think that if we do get an AI season, I could see BitTensor rallying well above $1,000 per coin, like well above $1,000 per coin, if we do get that AI alt season. And so this being a very stable play, in my opinion. Maybe you don't jump right in right here because you think we're about to have a pullback in it, perhaps. I don't know. You can decide whatever you want to decide. I just think that BitTensor is gearing up for a crazy rally. Like, you could have gotten this at the same price 18 months ago, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. The recent crypto kidnappings are crazy. Yeah, they are. Don't make your life too public, I guess. Don't brag about how much money you have online, unless, because that's the downside to selling your courses, right? Only those in profits not wanting to sell the asset will seek 2 to 3% yield. Yeah. Or the other thing you could do is, like, it's kind of complicated. But let's say you could buy Ethereum, stake it, grab the yield, and short it with the same number, with the same amount, and then just get a 0 beta yield of 2%. But it's super complicated. And again, why not just do it for the bond market or anything else that's grabbing that yield? But there's a lot of interesting ways you could do it. You could go grab Ethereum, you could go sell some calls on it or sell some puts on it, own a cash secured or an asset secured covered call, covered put, and earn the yield and get money from the wheel strategy. But you can't offer huge yield on staking without having Luna see a bear market breaks extravagant claims. Yeah, you're right, Fish Guru. You're right. Luna still probably got that scar on the market. We will never have the same type of Ponzi's. It just won't. It won't work anymore. We'll have to wait until the newest type of Ponzi is created, right? They won't be able to do the same type of Ponzi, not for a very long time. Are you still planning to take profits into TLT? Yep. I've got a very large, so I put several $1,000s on TLT calls that expire next year. So my expectation is that something breaks, they have to cut rates, and we get TLT to skyrocket, right? I think everyone is kind of expecting now TLT to drop even further, i.e. yields go even higher. I don't think that will happen. And so I'm betting big on that not happening with several $1,000s in calls. The other thing is that all of my retirement accounts I have converted from whatever stock positions I had into just cold bonds, long duration bonds. I know it's super boring, it's super lame, but it's my reduction of risk, right? Just buying things like TLT down at these low prices, I think that we have a good 2x from here. And so I can have a risk-free potential 2x, or even if it's not 2x, whatever, a risk-free potential gain in the portfolio as we get back closer to $130 in TLT. So maybe it's only 50%, but I get that yield as well. I get the yield from these treasury bonds right here at 4.4%, which is not amazing at all. But in a retirement account, when the rest of my net worth is hurdled into micro caps within decentralized science, it's a good thing to make it so that I can sleep at night. If in the worst case scenario, I am dead wrong and I have to lose half my net worth because it's all in altcoins, at least I have my retirement account that's all in bonds that I know will still be there, and I'll get my initial money out and the 5% yield at the end of the duration, right? Yeah, I completely agree, Fish Guru. I think Sol has a great outlook this cycle too. Beyond that, there's just so many alts. There are so many, which is why you have to look at the ones that have the potential to get attention. You have to look at the ones that can get the most attention, because that's where the money's going to flow. We've seen it over and over this cycle. It's the attention cycle. Because dominance will not falter. Dominance will not, seemingly dominance will not break below the 200-day moving average this cycle for any reasonable amount of time. You just have to assume that your altcoins are going to rotate and oscillate against Bitcoin, to quote the great Ben Cohen. Bitcoin dominance doesn't allow for much room for most alts. They must be hand selected by the big money or microcaps with hype. Crypto strategies to find the cults and move with them. Exactly, C90. Exactly. Bitcoin is mirroring the stock market with 10% of equities holding 75% of the total invested value in the indices they are listed on. Same thing happened in 1929. Oh yeah. It does not look too spectacular for I mean, that's like part of the reason why I'm planning for, I know it's not a good idea. You don't want to plan for a crash in the stock market. You don't want to plan for giant crashes in equities because they're so far and few, right? If you're always trying to catch the next crash in the market, you're going to get wiped out over a long enough time horizon. But I think anyone who's really paying attention to stuff can see that for the last 18 months, we've just been teetering on the edge of a giant recession. And so we're walking a very thin line. It's like someone used this analogy. You ready for this? This one's really hit me, okay? This one really stuck with me. And then I'll end it on this. But I heard this analogy a couple weeks ago, a month or two ago maybe. It's like you're driving your car in traffic right now, okay? And everyone in front of you has their brake lights on. The market has its brake lights on ahead of itself, right? And you have your foot down on the gas pedal full force, right? No one's asking you to turn off your car and get out of the car, i.e. no one's saying get out of your portfolio or sell everything, but the market, like the signs are right there saying, hey, you might have to come to a stop. So you should stop flooring it. You should take your foot off the gas pedal for a minute and just like coast into it and see what's going to happen, right? And that analogy just really stuck with me because no one's saying get out of the market. No one's saying you need to really stop moving, right? But they are saying you should slow down and see why everyone is stopped. See why everyone is starting to slow down. And anyone who's looking at the economy, I think, is seeing very similar signs that things are really slowing down. US unemployment, like the unemployment rate here has been slowly ticking up since the beginning of 2023. So all last year and so far for most of this year, we've been slowly ticking up in unemployment. Now it's not necessarily hitting escape velocity yet, so it's not in recession time period. And I think a lot of this can be attributed to the adoption of agentic systems in companies. Like people are just trimming out some devs, to be honest, that they hired back in the 2020 and 2021 hiring frenzy, right? You go see a lot of hiring for developers has come to a complete stop. And so a lot of this unemployment rate ticking up, I think, has to do with AI taking some jobs from people. And so it might not be a sign that it's about to go parabolic. It might just be finding that new norm over the next decade. But in that next decade, I'm pretty certain that everyone can agree we'll go through a recession. In that next decade, I'm pretty certain everyone can agree that we'll be going through a recession in the next 10 years. I think it'll be 2026, maybe 2027, because I seem to continuously get the timeline wrong. But I think in the next year or two, we will see a pretty rocky market. Hence why I have call options on TLT expiring in 2026. Because when everything does start to break, and when they do have to bail out the banks, right? When they do start having to bail out people, I think they'll do what they do every time and cut interest rates. And when they cut interest rates, the bond market will rip. And when the bond market rips, the premiums on options go berserk. So I don't think we'll get back to zero, not at all. But I do not think that rates will stay up here at 4.4, especially yield curve. Well, actually, let me go 210, not 20, 210 yield curve. Especially when we know that the spread has finally uninverted and actually just triggered what I told you guys months ago to wait and watch for. Okay, I'm glad that we came to this, because at the beginning of last month, I was saying we've been in a slow uninversion of the yield curve and that things would get really tricky when we got to the 0.5 uninversion, right? Because we inverted back here in 2022 and we stayed inverted for the longest that we've ever seen the yield curve stay inverted for. And then we've slowly been climbing out of it. And so keep an eye on it now. It just finally hit that marker where I was saying that if we're going to go parabolic and things are going to really break, it's probably going to happen here soon, really quickly. So over the next quarter or two, keep an eye on this. You want to really keep an eye on it, because what happens is the yield curve goes from regular curve, or it'll be like this, right? No, like this. Regular curve, and then it gets sick and you get a yield curve inverted, and then it snaps back down. And that snapping, the quick movement of yields, destroys markets. It is manipulation, but it's the economic easing that makes it happen. So keep an eye on it. We will see what happens. Hit that like button. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys joining, even though it was a little bit late today. Tomorrow, we'll be live again. We go live as consistently as I can, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Talk about decentralized science and the broader crypto markets. Hopefully you guys are positioned nicely to take advantage of the moves that are going on, because really, we are going to see a very fun next year. The next 12 months are going to be very volatile, in my opinion. And volatility is where you make the most amount of money. So hopefully you guys are ready, and I will see you on tomorrow's